And what I'm going to do is try to do a show every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night around 9 p.m. and bring you different guests. Of course, in my radio career, over the years, I've had a chance to interview folks that have taken walks of sports from all channels internationally, from the big major sports like basketball, hockey, baseball, the NFL, beyond to Olympic sports, from amateurs to pros to Hall of Famers. And I'm going to rekindle that here on 954sports.com. So it's kind of guinea pigging it. I know when I do the Fantasy Football League show that I do, and you can check that out here on the YouTube channel. I bring in some of the guys in the league for the guests, but of course I want to expand outside my fantasy football realm, which is hard to do, let's face it. But anyway, Michael Costines is going to join us now. Michael's a fellow Floridian here in South Florida. He's going to be our guest here on 954sports.com, right for prephoops.com. Michael and I, sometimes we circle the wagon in the same place, and we've met during the high school basketball season. So without further ado, I want to bring in Michael. Thank you, Michael, for joining us here. As I said, I'm kind of guinea pigging you tonight, but you're one of the first guests we get on 954sportslive.com. Pleasure to have you in. It's always good to see you at the games and get you here online. You there, Mike? Let's see. Can you hear me, Michael?
I can hear you.
All right, cool. How you doing?
I'm good. Great. Thank you for having me on, man.
Absolutely. A pleasure. And Palomulu fan, I know he's going to go into, we're here to talk high school hoop, but you got a Hall of Famer.
Yes. Yeah. I'm actually a big Dallas Cowboy fan, but I'm a big sports fan, big football fan. I was a big Troy Polamalu fan, Ed Reed, just the defensive side of the ball. So I was a big fan of both those guys.
You know, it's interesting. It's a good segue into high school basketball because we're both from the East Coast in Connecticut. We can talk about that. And we live here down in Florida, and high school football is king. There's no doubt about that. But I'm sure, as I found, you might have found, going through Broward County, Dade County, West Palm, South Florida, and this side of the peninsula, the high school hoops is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. Like you said, the football gets a lot of coverage. I mean, like, for example, just down the road, St. Thomas Aquinas is a huge football school. Miami Northwestern, down the road from me too, is a big football school. But there's a lot of talent here for basketball, and I think football is so big and that it might get overlooked a little bit. But like you said, West Palm, Broward, and Miami-Dade, there's a ton of basketball on the Division I, Division II level down here. So it's kind of an underrated area for hoops.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Michael Costines joins us here on the I almost called it the final score, Mike. That was my radio show where I used to talk a lot of high school hoops. I knew that I was going to do that. But this is 954 Sports Live, as we bring it to you on the YouTube channel, and it's 954sports.com. Michael does a great job of writing for prephoops.com. And Mike, I got a chance. Is it Michael or Mike, or do you not care? Call you anything?
Yeah, Mike or Mike is fine. That's fine.
Okay, cool. You know, you're a very good writer. I had a chance to read a little bit of this and that of what you wrote. You do some features, you do some game summaries, and it's pretty cool what you guys are doing out there. Tell us all about the website and your contributions and what you guys are all about, prephoops.com, and what you do for them.
Yeah, so I got involved with Prep Boost. I've been involved in them for about a year now. We cover all different kinds of kids, so not just the blue bloods that go into Kentucky or Duke. We'll go down and cover the D2, D3 kids, JUCO kids, NAIA kids, basically because it allows them to get exposure through our website. So we'll profile certain kids, go to games, do recaps, kind of highlight their strengths, and try to get different college coaches to come out and see them. So yeah, we'll go, like we said, there's a lot of attention that goes to the Division I kids around here, but we also like to emphasize the kids that are a little below the radar. They're still going to good schools. There's no shame in going to Division II schools. There's a couple of really good programs down here. Nova Southeastern Florida Southern, Barry. The Sunshine State Conference is a really good league. So we try to emphasize that a lot. And yeah, I pretty much covered the entire South Florida area, from, like I said, prep schools to public schools and everything in between. And we have another one of my buddies, Jake Perper, is up in the Tampa, Orlando area covering up there. So Florida, we'll go and cover you and try to get you exposure and get you some limelight.
Absolutely. And again, it's prephoops.com. Michael Costines joins us here on 954 Sports Live. It's 954sports.com. It's a YouTube channel. Some of the players that we've both covered this year, and I took some notes, and you know what I wanted to do, Michael, is play the video as we talk, but I'm glad I get to guinea pig you and me, because I can't do that, because I'm noticing that if I shift audio off of you and me, it gets lost. But I put some clips together. Those are on the YouTube channel, but these are guys you know that you covered, and I looked through the website and I was like, wow, I got to see them as play as well, and thought they were great players to highlight video and the way you guys do it with the print and the interviews as well. And that's a few players from Calvary Christian that I really liked, especially his kid, Greg Glenn. Sterling Young's another one. Some great players over there. Cats, I saw you, Yeshiva, Noah Mammon.
Noah Mammon from Kansas. Yep.
Yeah, he's the South Florida version of Steph Curry. He just buries the threes. A couple other kids I enjoyed watching this season from Westminster, Ben Middlebrooks, big 6'8", 6'7" kid.
Yeah,
he's a sophomore. Yeah, just those some players. Justin Allen, I saw you highlighted from Chaminade. I'm going to get a chance, I think, Michael, to go check him out tomorrow in the playoff game. MacArthur, the other night, I caught you with watching Damian Alford. What a great talent he is. And Arturo, what's his last name, from South Miami?
Arturo Dean.
Dean, fabulous too. And, there's just some guys that I saw that you highlighted. I mean, you've seen probably players from up and down, West Palm down to Dade and in between here in Broward. And mentioning some of those guys, if you want to elaborate on those or just talk about some of the great players you've seen this season, go ahead. Do so that we can also find out on the website about.
Yeah, I've seen a ton of great players. I'll start with maybe the best player I've seen so far this year. This kid named Matt Bewley. He's about 6'8". I saw him play a rivalry game against Fort Lauderdale at their place. He had 28 points and 18 rebounds. Like I say, he's a freshman, by the way. He has a brother too, Ryan Bewley. So they're kind of like the Twin Towers inside for Northeast. He was probably the best player I've seen this year. He was dominant, and he was 6'8". He can finish around the rim. He wasn't even shooting 12 to 15 footers. He was just so dominant in the post. And for 6'8", he can run the floor like a guard. I mean, he's a really good talent, and he's only a freshman. He was going about probably 18 points, 9 rebounds a game. Wow. He had a 22 and 14 game. Like I said, he had 28 and 18 game against Fort Lauderdale. He's going to be a really good player. It's scary to think that he's only a freshman, so he has plenty of room to grow and improve his game. And he has a brother too, like I said. He's probably he could be the best player in South Florida, and he's only a freshman. I was really impressed with his game at Northeast, and they have a couple other good players on that team too. Yeah,
it's a good squad. As far as the rest of the players, I should say teams left in the playoffs, Chaminade, I mentioned I'm going to go try to see them tomorrow night. Who's left from West Palm and Dade, Broward in between that you can tell us about that has a chance maybe to climb through this weekend into a state championship round?
Well, you mentioned Chaminade, so I'll start with them. I might actually be out there tomorrow too to see him play. They had a kid, Andre Weir, who's about 6'10", big center. Presents himself well in the paint and kind of carve out space for their guards. He had a couple big games for them. He had 20 and 16 against Gulliver Prep. He had 22 and 17 against University School, and those are two really good programs down here. He's going to Richmond, by the way. He's committed to them.
Okay.
Like I say, yes, sir. Like I said, big target, can finish with either hand in the post. They got a 6'8" wing. Johnny O'Neill's going to American, kind of an inside-out player, so he can.
Yeah, it's a good basketball player. I saw him play once this year. Inside out, perfect way to describe him.
Yeah, he's definitely an inside-out player, so he can shoot from outside. And he can finish finished underneath too. You mentioned Justin Allen. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the area. He's a kind of a 6'3" guard, can guard multiple positions, likes to drive into the paint. He had a big game against Gulliver Prep too. I think he had 21 points. He's getting looks, a lot of Division II looks. He told me, I spoke to him, Albany State was looking at him at Division II school. Navy's shown some interest, but he's a really good player. They got a couple other guards. This kid Thaddeus Franklin, who's actually a football player.
He's a good one. He might be.
Yes.
He might be in the NFL. He's like the kid Michael from the Vikings. What's his name?
Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so.
He's a big, thick guard. You can tell he's a running back. He had 333, I think, in the state championship game, which on 47 carries, which is, I know this is basketball. That's unbelievable to give a guy the ball 47 times, and he runs for 333 yards.
And then a few nights later, he was at Westminster where I first met you playing basketball. A week later or so.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's almost like, that's like kind of like he's playing basketball, football, almost like a Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, multiple sport athlete that just, can do it all. They got another kid, Dax K, who's had actually Justin Allen was hurt in the game against University School, and Dax had 15 points. He's like this lightning quick guard. Can finish with his left or right hand, had just a couple acrobatic layups, I remember, in that game. He's a really good player, too. So Chaminad's a really tough out. Andre Torres is a really good coach for them. He's also their athletic director. So that's going to be. I might go over there tomorrow see him play because and I mentioned Andre before. He played against Vernon Carey, who's at Duke now for University School, and he did a pretty good job. Vernon was 2-time state player of the year down here, and he kind of held his own a couple times. And so he's probably one of the bigger solid big men that we have in South Florida. Being 6'10", that's kind of gone away. Whether it be on the pro level, big men kind of do multiple things. He's kind of your true big man in the center, and he's once he gets going and gets on the glass, he's really tough to stop because there's not a lot of guys that can guard him down in the paint.
And again, Michael Costines joins us here. You can check out his work. It's prephoops.com as they cover all the prep scene here in South Florida and beyond. It's a really cool website that they have up and going and all these different options. And Michael explains some of what they do. Let me ask you, what do you like covering the best? Do you like covering the game and putting together a summary, or do you like to do the features, or a little bit of both? What's kind of your forte?
I would say I like doing features. Like I said before, I like kind of covering the kids that are not getting as much exposure. There's a lot of these kids that are going to a lot of these prep schools that are powerhouse programs, so they're going to get a lot of airtime, whether it be locally or on national TV. They're going there for a reason to play basketball and obviously get a good education too. But they're going there for those reasons. But I kind of like covering the kids that kind of are slipped under the radar down here, and it's no really slide on them because if you're playing down here and you're going to a Division II school, you're probably pretty much a state, like in Connecticut, like we're both from. Yeah. Some of these kids would be first team state players here in a state like Connecticut, and down here you could be a second or third team player on the Sun Sentinel or Miami Herald, and that's just because there's so much talent down here. It's from top to bottom, so there's no. It's not like they're bad players. It's just there's so much talent. It's almost hard to pick from. It's a gold mine down here, and so I kind of like going after those kids that are going to low D1, D2, D3 schools, or maybe go to the JUCO level before they look at other options. Sure,
and some become late bloomers as well.
Mm-hmm.
As again, Michael Costines joins us here. It is 954 Sports Live as we're going to bring it to you. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is what I'm looking at around 9 p.m. every night as part of 954sports.com. I'm growing it just like Michael's organization there, prephoops.com. They do a great job covering high school hoops. You can check it out. Let me ask you, Michael, with hoops today, in shooting the three-pointer, it's definitely trickled down from the NBA with Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. That effect has hit high school hoops, and a lot of maybe purists, or don't want to sound too much like an old curmudgeon, but you forget the fundamentals, or all these kids want to do these days is shoot threes or slam dunk. But I don't see that, especially down here. I see a good amount of fundamentals. I see the kids still earning the threes, passing the ball enough, but the three has become such a big part of the game. And again, we mentioned the basketball here is pretty good, so I think they use the three the right way. But how do you see the infiltration of the three-pointer just in today's game, lending itself to the high school level the way it has?
I mean, it's definitely huge down here. I mean, there's so, like I said, there's so much talent here, so a lot of kids can just beat you with their athleticism. There's a couple of guards I've seen that are 6'6", 6'7", that can shoot over shorter players. And I mean, a three is huge. I was mentioning Chaminade before that they got a kid, Danny Newman, who's a lights out shooter. I mean, you'll probably see him tomorrow. He can make three or four of them in a row. There was a kid at Westminster, this kid Caleb Mueller, who's a good shooter. He's a really good 3-point shooter. I mean, that's a huge part of the game, but the fundamentals down here are really important. And I'm kind of glad you brought that up because a couple of the games I saw, Westminster Academy was playing Boca St. Andrews, and Boca St. Andrews this year wasn't a really good three-throw shooting team. And in that game, Westminster Academy is a three-time defending state championship. I think they've been to the state final 4 years in a row, and they've won the last three. Boca knocked down their three throws, and I think Westminster was 9 of 19. I want to say Westminster was 9 of 19. Boca was 20 of 25, and they won the game. And so that's a big. I mean, three throws are huge, especially as we get down the stretch here. And there's the margin for error is so slim. So while the 3-point shooting is huge, I mean, just the little things like knocking down three throws is big. And I'll mention another team. Stranahan was playing University School in the district final. Stranahan didn't shoot their three throws well at all. U School, Jet Howard was 10 of 12. Jace Howard was 10 of 10. I think they missed 3 or 4. And Stranahan lost that game by, I think, 10 or 11 points. And just a couple days ago, they came back and seeding wise, they upset them in the playoffs here, 63-61. This kid, Daquan Vickers, hit a game-winning shot in overtime, right inside the 3-point line to beat U School, and they lost. Like I said, they lost them twice in the regular season. They came back and beat him third time in the state playoffs. So little things like that, not turning the ball over, three throws. I mean, like I said, the margin for error is really slim for these teams down the stretch, and the talent level is so good that a couple of possessions here or there can really change the game. That probably was a factor in that U School Stranahan game and a bunch of other games I saw this season so far.
Yeah, you make a great point. Again, Michael Costine is joining us here. It's prephoops.com. Check them out. They do a great job in covering prep hoops. As we talk here on the 954sports.com YouTube channel, I'm going to be 954 Sports Live, bringing it to you Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night around 9 p.m. Talk sports, get guests from all walks and varieties of sports. As I used to say, the wide world of sports, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And let me ask you, we're hit that time where college basketball does take center stage. High school basketball gets into the March Madness. Any college team particular you root for? Where'd you go to college, Michael? Did you go to an NCAA alum school that will be represented or on the bubble in the March Madness? I went to Arizona State University, so it's a crapshoot every year.
Forks up. No, Herm Edwards is good. I like Herm Edwards a lot down there.
Do.
So
I like Bobby Hurley too.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Bobby Hurley. I actually pull for Duke. I'm a Duke fan. I know I'm from Connecticut, so that's kind of almost sacrilegious, but that was kind of the first team I saw growing up, and so I kind of became an anti-UConn person, I guess. But in terms of school, I actually went to a state school in Connecticut called Southern Connecticut State.
Okay, Southern, right? We both went to party schools in their own right.
Yeah, I went to Southern, and while I was there, actually, kind of on paper, I got my degree from Southern. A lot of my friends went to the crosstown school, UNH. So I had a couple friends that I grew up with in high school that played football for them. They're actually a really good Division II football school. They kind of resurrected that program. This guy Tony Sperano, who passed away, he was kind of one of the architects of them. Sure. And they became a really good Division II football school. In 2011, 2012, they won the NE10 championship. I think they got up to number 3. And I got involved with a couple of the kids I knew on the basketball team too. So when I was there, while I went to Southern, I got to cover their basketball team and Southern's basketball team, and that's how I kind of got involved in the journalism, so to speak. And the old Southern coach is at Florida Southern now. His name is Mike Donnelly, and I think he grew up in Trumbull or played for this guy Vito Montelli.
Yeah, Vito is legendary from St. Joseph's. He's 50 years or so, or maybe 50 years on the dot. He's a legend in Connecticut and beyond.
Yeah. So and they were and in terms of Southern Connecticut, I actually covered them. Kind of was like almost like their beat writers. So when they got to the Division II tournament, they got to the Elite Eight, I think, and they actually lost to the eventual national championship for that level. It's Central Missouri. But yeah, Southern, N-A-10's a good league too. So it's like Southern, UNH, Bentley, St. Anselm, St. Michael's. But yeah, I kind of, like I said, I was kind of covered them, and I got to know the UNH football players too, and they have a little rivalry going. They were kind of they call themselves the KO boys, so they resurrected the program and got really good, and that was awesome on that front. So I kind of got my foot in the door covering Division II sports, and that kind of eventually led me to Florida, which I'm down here now to cover sports down here. So so like I said, on the top level, I'm a Duke fan. Got my degree from Southern. UNH is close to my heart too. I'm still close to a lot of those kids, and so I cover. And I really like the Division II level a lot because, like I said, I kind of got my foot in the door covering those kids. And the Division II basketball down here is really big. Like I said, Nova. I think they got size number 1 in the country. That's one of the nicest D2 arenas I've ever seen. If you ever go to it, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it is really nice. Florida Southern. Mike Donnelly is actually there now. He was the Southern coach when I was at Southern. He's done a great job. They won the Division II championship.
I think I've interviewed him or met him before.
He's
a really good
guy.
Yeah,
So the Southern UNH program, they were kind of in the dumps before I got there, and Donnelly took over, and like I said, got him to the Division II Elite Eight, and then he moved on to Florida Southern. He's a really good coach, and they had some really good players when I was there. This kid Mike Mallory, Greg Langston, but that's here nor there. But yeah, he's at Florida Southern now. So that's
Langston. I remember. Where did he play his high school hoop?
He was at was he at St. Joe's? He's Greg Langston. I think he was. I mean, he had a motor. He actually hit the game winner in the NE10 championship over this kid Eric Anderson, who led the Division II in rebounds that year. I was at the game. That they won by 3, and that sent them. They won the NE10 championship. I think that was their first one. But yeah, they had kid Greg Langston, Mike Mallory, who was from not Waterbury High School. He's from the private school there, whatever private school there. The kid Tylon Smith, who was at he's from where's he from? Kingswood, Oxford.
Kingsford, Oxford. Yeah.
Kings. Yes, and
they
kid Mike
turn him out all the time.
Yeah. So they had a really good team, and then on the other side, they had the UNH had a couple good kids. Justin Atkins, Eric Anderson, like I said, led the Division II in rebounding that year. So they were really good. And then like I said, that's a really good league. I mean, because you got a lot of Philadelphia, Boston, New York kids in that area. So the NE10s, and Mike Mallory is actually the leading scorer in NE10 history. And he started all 4 years for them. So I kind of got to travel around and get to know those kids while also getting to know the UNH football kids that I made friends with. So they were good in basketball. UNH was really good in football. They dominated Southern up there for, I think they won 10, 11 in a row. Rich Kavanaugh retired, and then when he left, they had a couple. The first or second year when I was there, they were really good. And then, like I said, UNH football, Pete Rossamondo and those guys. It's a really good school, and like I said, I got to know the football kids and the basketball kids, and that really helped me kind of get in front of the camera and talk to players. Yes, sir. Yes.
That's awesome. And how do you like living down here?
I like it. Like I said, the sports is great. Everyone says the weather's great, which is great. I mean, the summers. I spent my first summer down here, which was like a sauna, man. It was like living in the Sahara, to be honest with you. It was hot, but I get used to it, and I like playing basketball too. So getting out there and I kind of got acclimated pretty quickly. And the sports is great. I mean, I follow hockey too, so I go to Florida Panthers games, and they're actually couple points out of a playoff spot, so I'd like to go see them too. Haven't got to a Heat game yet. I want to do that. Gotten to a few Marlins games, so I love watching college football and basketball. So where's the University of Miami down here? Obviously, I try to get to that too.
Yeah,
But
for something else, right?
Yeah, for what we're doing from a football and basketball standpoint, I can't complain on, man. There's so many good athletes. Like I said, when you cover football too, and if you go on any SEC roster, there's going to be kids that are from Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Hollywood. They're just littered with South Florida. I mean, they've Clemson comes in here now, just recruiting everybody down here. So, like I said, any SEC school roster you go, you're going to see kids littered from Florida, from South Florida on it. So that's what kind of drew me to Florida. I mean, this is one of the best places in the country for sports, and Texas, California too. But for my vicinity and how close it is to, there's no complaints about the high school sports down here. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. What do you do for PrepHoops.com in the off season? What are some of the things that you're going to work on when the kids are off the court, but still showcasing themselves on the court for other programs, AAU, whatever it is? What do you guys delve into?
Yeah, so I'll be going around. I mean, we have AAU tournaments down here. Prep Hoops, we have actually our own tournament. It's not during the off season. It's called the Sun Bash. This my contributor buddy Jake Perper runs. So that'll be in, I think, Miami and Tampa. That's in December. But in the off season, we'll go to, like I said, the tournaments. I mean, I'm constantly messaging kids because some of these kids are working 24 hours a day almost having their game to try to get to the next level. And the summer's a big time for that. So they're playing in, like I said, different tournaments, different showcases, all around. Because I mean, there's just constant. So I'm going to go anywhere that I see where their tournament showcases online, or go to practices, or if a kid wants me to go and talk to him when he's just shooting hoops in the backyard or by the beach, I'll go talk to him too. Whatever I can do to get a kid exposure to college coaches. We have a lot of college coaches that subscribe to our service. Actually, at the Coral Classic I was at in Coral Springs, I had a couple coaches go out to me, "Hey, what's this kid's name?" or tell me about this kid. And I sat with a coach from Navy for a while, and he was about my age, and we just talked about the players that were at the tournament. So, which was kind of cool. You got coaches calling up and say, "Hey, can you tell me about this kid, or give me some information?" So I do the best I can to get that kid out there and get the kid exposure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you see what a vehicle your website is, and just today's day and age. When I was coming up, Michael, it was radio, TV, newspaper, and slowly but surely internet came on, and you see what we're doing right now, and it's a vehicle for spreading the good word of great basketball players out there. I want to thank you. You're a real pro, and I appreciate you coming on. It's great to have met you at the local gymnasiums or field houses, and I look forward to bumping into you again. And what we should do is just keep in touch and partner on some things. And when you want to tell me what's going on with PrepHoops.com, you come on and we can talk hoops anytime.
Yeah, man. First of all, I really appreciate having me on. And I'm actually probably going to be at that Hollywood Chaminade game tomorrow.
Cool.
So I'll probably see you then.
Yeah, I'll bump into you sooner than later. Thanks again, Michael.
Yep. Thank you very much.
All right. There you have it there from a good guy who did a great job and joined us here on 954 Sports Live. I got to get used to saying that. I cannot believe I called it the final score. I haven't done that show in 7-8 years, and there I am calling it the final score. That's what you call a slip. But I'll get used to everything. I got a couple of things I want to work on, and I hate to say the term gimme pig, but that's sort of what I'm doing, and getting used to having a guest and being able to do a few things. Switch back and forth between the guest there, Michael Costins, again, who did a great job for coming on here to 954 Sports Live from PrepHoops.com. Take another look. Let's give him a plug. There you go, PrepHoops.com. And when I get writers on, I don't always tell them that they're good writers, Sometimes what I'd done in the past when I was doing radio is you'd book a writer and then you'd book them and start reading their stuff and be like, but I'm telling you, Michael writes really well, very enjoyable, and they got the post-game interviews. They do the whole thing. So I want to be able to go switch back and forth between the camera, but every time I tried to do that, come back to myself, the sound was cut off. So the long story short, I always say that it becomes a short story long. I got to work on a few technical things. Like I wanted to, as he talked about a player, I threw a couple players, play some video for you as we talked over it. This is Ben Middlebrooks. We talked about him from Westminster Academy. 6'7", 6'8", a sophomore. Got a great game. I'll show you another kid here we talked about. Look at this dude going up for the dunk here. This is Damian Alford. Football, basketball, Jam City from MacArthur. Wanted to get that one in. We talked about this kid. Michael did a great job highlighting him. Check out prephoops.com. They got a story on him and his game last week at MacArthur, a post-game interview. Got up for a jam. And then we had this kid we talked about. This one was Noah Mammon, three-point machine from Katz Yeshiva in Boca Raton. Great kid. He did a piece on him as well. We were covering some of the same schools, some of the same players. And then finally, who do we have here? This is Greg Glenn, Calvary Christian. We talked about him. A monster. Look at him between three defenders. Check it out again. Well, Charles Barkley. Maybe more Zion. I know I'm old school. But Michael did a great job. And high school basketball is very good here. Very good. I would say, we touched on it. The fundamentals back north, much different. They're ingrained in kids. Here, I see more of a freestyle, wide open game where the fundamentals ease their way into it. It's different. But the amount of athleticism, and there are some great coaches down here, and there are some great gymnasiums. I forgot to touch on that with Michael. I wanted to ask him what his favorite field house or gymnasium. Two that I've seen. I mean, as far as being modern, up to date, sparkling clean, pristine, Westminster Academy. If you want the old school field house where they have the top level and the bottom level, the Hoosier style, you got to go to Fort Lauderdale High School. Fun place. Got some good ones down here. Anyway, I will be spanning and covering the world of sports. I'll get better at bringing you the guests and engineering the whole thing. I know it. I've always had a knack for engineering. I get it done. But anyway, that's our first installment. I'm going to do, again, 954 Sports live. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is 9 o'clock. I'll bring in a guest like I did with Michael Costines from prephoops.com. I promise you I won't call it the final score. That was pretty ridiculous. It's going to be final. It's going to be 954 Sports Live, not final score. But I spent a long time doing that show in 2 different states. I was able to get guests. I was thinking about it earlier. Not tooting the horn, but I was trying to think of the different guests I got. Big name guests. Started thinking to myself, I know why I was thinking of it, because I was doing that piece last night. There's a video about the Yankees pitching, and I was talking about Jordan Montgomery. I was talking about Luis Severino going on the DL with the Tommy John surgery. And then I said, I interviewed Tommy John. I thought about interviewing Tommy John, Don King, Charles Oakley, John Starks, Charles Smith, a few ex-Knicks, Bobby Valentine, Jim Bouton, Willie Randolph at one time. A ton of New York athletes, a ton of college athletes, college coaches. Ed Cooley, now at Providence, was a regular guest when he was at Fairfield. I have to think of the list, of athletes, several of them, boxers. As I mentioned, I interviewed the U.S. curling team. I think took part in the 2008 Olympics, the men's curling team. Mike Richter, the New York Rangers, and so on and so forth. Jerry Cooney, the boxer. A ton of them. One day I will make a list. I'll just start a new one. Do it on live, right? Bring it to you here on 954sports.com, the YouTube station. I'm going to look to build out the website as well. Just start to do more interactive things. It's a whole different universe. As I said to our guest, Michael Costines again, from prephoops.com. Whole different universe out there in sports. When I started, like I said to him, it was TV, radio, and newspaper. Last year in college, they brought about this thing called the internet. Became mainstream. Slowly but surely, the standards of media in covering sports and beyond have changed. We all have access now to our own little broadcast channels, our own little podcasts, right? Get an opportunity to span the world, get your voice covered, get the story or the topic that you're covering evangelized. It's all good. I'm going to do it here on 954 Sports Live at 954sports.com. I'll get used to saying that. I want to thank the guest. Again, go check it out. prephoops.com. Michael Costines does a great job covering South Florida high school hoops. I'm going to be doing a high school hoops game of the week. Looking to go to Chaminade, Madonna. I might run into Michael again tomorrow. Then I'll wrap it up with that. I've been covering a high school basketball game and a football game for more than a half a year now, since the school season started with a game of the week. Been doing intermittent broadcasts here, just a lot of op-ed, commentary. Like I said, I talked about the Yankees pitching staff last night, done movie reviews of sports movies. Talked about when the Antonio Brown thing was happening, covering that. Seems like many moons ago. Something like the Houston Astros, right? They were in the buzzers. It was all over that sign stealing scandal. That seems like many moons ago, but that was just a couple weeks ago. So I'm covering a little bit of this. I'm covering a little bit of that. But that's what makes the world go round in covering the world of sports. Anyway, I'm out of here. So next Tuesday night, I'll be back with you. 954 Sports Live. Tuesday, Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, with guests aplenty, and talk about all the happenings in the world of sports in South Florida and beyond. Until then, I'm Matt Levine saying so long. You have yourself a great night. We'll catch you back here next Tuesday at 9 p.m.